This is 5 Minutes to Curtain, your front row seat to all your local and live theater all across Simcoe County. If you enjoy musicals, this one's for you. This is 5 Minutes to Curtain, and today we are with Infinity Arts Production with Alinka Angelova-May. Thank you very much for having us join you here at this beautiful studio. This is awesome.
Thank you.
How long have you been here?
Well, we've been here since 2020.
Okay.
Yeah. Before this, we were renting a spot at a church, and of course, as you know, the pandemic hit. Mm-hmm. And when it was time to come back, it was a little hard to. There was a lot of restrictions, so the church was taking a while to get back to us. So I said, you know what? I'm just gonna go get a spot. And even the realtor's like, I don't think you should get one at this time. And I'm like, no, I just feel it. I'm supposed to do this. I gotta do this. And so I went in with like 9 kids, maybe. And on the first day, we had about 60 kids.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
That's awesome.
Right? Yeah. So I was right.
Awesome. Yeah. No, this is a great location. It's in Central Barrie as well. Mm-hmm. So obviously you have the performance group. Is there any other things that you have going on in this location? Yeah.
Well, I have the performance group for it's a recreational program for kids.
Yep.
And I also have like a professional cast. So sometimes I'll take some of the elite kids from my studio and I'll put them in that professional cast just to give them a little taste of what it's like in the performing world,
nice.
The real performing world,
yeah.
And we do outside productions.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
and other than that, not really anything much happening here.
Well, I think that's enough. I think you got enough on the go.
It is.
Yeah, definitely.
It is.
So tell us a little bit more about your upbringing in the theater world. I know you did things a little bit differently than some people. Some people start off as actors, child actors, whatever. You kind of took a bit of a different route to some degree. But if you want to explain a little bit more about your history of theater and how you got into directing and everything else.
It's funny because I didn't know anything about theater. Like I didn't even know what it was. But when I was about like maybe 9 or 10, I used to gather up some kids, even at church or even at home, my little brother and his friends or whatever, and I would tell them, let's play school. And so I'd play school, but every time I did school, I would create a show. Like I'd do something with script, I'd do something with dancing and singing, and I didn't know what I was doing, so I thought I wanted to be a teacher. And only when I was in my 20s did I realize, I was like, oh my God, I'm a director. That's what I am, because I just loved creating, and I also love performing. And that's the thing, I love to sing, love dancing, love the acting, love the stage. But I also liked creating it. So that was the tie to it.
Do you recall your very first production?
Let's see, my very first real production, I have to say, I've done little things in church, but the main one was at Innisdale when we did Guys and Dolls. That was my first. I played Sergeant Sarah Brown. And that was my first time really experiencing what it's like to be in an actual full production. Yeah. And
you obviously took that from there and
I did.
Went bigger and better.
I loved it. I went I absolutely loved it. Even when I was in York University, I got a contract to go to the Mediterranean to perform. And I was like, yeah, I'm gone.
Nice.
I was like, this is what I want to do. And so, yeah, for sure, that's where my love came from.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about a certain point in life was there that you decided that this was going to be a dream come true, or pursue it more professional side with not only just the teaching, but also the theater side of it as well. Was there a certain point at a young age where you went, this is what I'm going to do?
Yeah, that was when, in my early 20s. Okay. I was attending, I know I always talk about church, but I was attending a church called Rhema Christian Ministries in Toronto. And the way the pastor would speak, about living, fulfilling your passions and doing your dream and all that stuff, and it was really motivational. And at that time, I had an inclination that that's what I wanted to do, but even more so, I realized then this is what I need to do, and I know I have, because I wake up thinking about it. I go to sleep thinking about it, like for my whole entire life. And I didn't really even know what I was doing at the time. And so at that point, yeah, I decided when I used to go to Bible studies and I'd get all these good quotes because I love uplifting things. I love motivational things, inspirational things. And he was very inspirational. And so I always thought that when I write, I have to have that in it. In everything I have, everything I write, there has to be some sort of inspiration. And I knew that that's when I wanted to do that, yeah.
So when did you have that interest for script? We'll get into, because I know you have a very cool musical side,
Yeah.
as well as the theater and script and all that stuff, but script writing is something kind of all on its own, never
Yeah.
mind the rest of it. At what point did you realize that you have that artistic style to actually create? So that's where it all begins.
I think in school, like in high school, whenever I'd write like essays or if I had any kind of assignments, I would write novels, more so. I like to write books a lot. And I know that I just like to create. My mind is so creative, you have no idea. Like it's just.
I'm starting to get that idea.
It just keeps going, right? And that's when I used to write a lot. I know my teachers used to complain because I'd write too much, but I think that's where it started. When they'd ask us to write about stuff and I'd brainstorm, my brainstorming would just, I could write forever, I thought. I felt like I could write forever, but I'd try to stop. Yeah. So that's when I started doing. And then, of course, in my head, sometimes I would create a scenario and I'd be both characters.
Okay.
And I didn't really know what that was, but I loved to do that. I could lie in my bed and have a conversation. I know it sounds crazy. My brothers and sisters used to say they thought I was crazy because I could be like 5 different people, literally different personalities, and have a huge conversation. But that's because I was script writing in my head, and I didn't really realize that I was doing that.
That's cool. Yeah, that's awesome. You mentioned your family a little bit too. Is your family involved with theater as well? We talked a little bit about your brother. You used to pull him out to give you a hand with a few things and here and there.
My little brother, I used to use him like as a main lead in all my shows. So he's a little traumatized from that. And I also have my 2 brothers, Jerome and Robert Chambers. They used to train me like in sing, like when they found out that I could sing. They write as well, so they would write music and they'd get me to sing it and work on it and perform with them. My brother, he's musical, so a lot of the times when I write, I don't play. I know that if I went to like a class, I could probably learn pretty easy because I have a knack for playing, but I don't play. I like to write and I like to sing. So I would put together a melody and I'd sing it for my brother and I'd go to his house. We'd literally sit there for like 12 hours and he'd create the composition. Like he'd compose the music. So he's the one who does that. My other brother, Jerome, he writes as well, but he's also a very good director because he used to direct me as a child when I would perform and he'd tell me how to use the stage. So stage presentation came from him. And then I have my, and also he also does my posters and stuff.
Okay.
He likes to do a lot of the posters. My sister, she did the makeup, and she's also a great choreographer, so she does that as well. And then I have my other brother, Lyndon. He used to build my sets.
It really is.
Can you believe it?
Family.
I told him, I said, guys, if you guys would just join with me on one huge production, and we all work together, it'd be like phenomenal. We've never done it yet, but one day.
Well,
I mean, they've done little pieces here and there, and they're in and out. But if we were to actually, because they all have all those things I mentioned are all their passions. So why not, right? We all get together and do a big show.
Yeah, that's awesome. Before we get into your next production, which is coming up pretty soon, and it's a very big production, I just want to talk a little bit as well about your musical past as well and how you brought that and everything else that we've talked about into your next production, because it is big. So do you want to talk a little bit more about your musical writing that contributed to the next production? I'm not going to release the name, but I'll let you do the magical intro for
like
that.
My musical, like how it came about, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
How I became to write?
Yeah, what have you got to do? And then
think.
getting to the point of the music for this production as well.
No, I'll get it. Okay, so I don't know. I started writing at a very young age. It started off with poetry.
Okay.
So I started writing poems, and then of course, I had a love for music, and I just started singing the words, I guess. I used to like start singing a tune without words. So I'd sing the tune and I love this tune and I'd think of like the instruments in my head and then I'd just put words to it. And that's how I started doing that. And of course, it just evolved and evolved over the years. When I was younger, it was a bit basic, and now it's just gotten broader and broader. My ideas just, I'm telling you, I don't even know how that happened. I don't know how that happened. And also with my musical background, with my family being so musical as well, working with my brothers has helped me a lot. Even like learning how to harmonize, and so when I learned how to harmonize, so now I know how to just harmonize to anything. They really boot camped me like to tears that I just didn't want to do it because I just couldn't get it. I couldn't do it. I didn't understand it. But I mean, when we did it, it sounded nice. So when I started doing that, and now that I can hear all the harmonies, I can put together choirs. I can, put together songs and know what goes where. So that's really how it came about. Yeah.
So off from there, Lost Heroes of Oro.
And Lost Heroes of Oro. So of course, now Lost Heroes of Oro is actually the latest show I've written.
Yes, and this is coming up very soon, by the way, too. So
yes, it is. It's coming up very soon. And you want me to tell you a little bit about it?
Yeah, tell us a little bit more, I guess about how the whole idea of Lost Heroes of Oro, how that came about, the whole concept of it, basically.
So you know what? The first time I heard about the African Oral Episcopal Church was one day when my husband and I were driving, and it was a few years ago. And he said, he said, do you know what that church is for? What it stands for? I'm like, no, because I've been here since 1996. So I'm like, no. He goes, you haven't learned about it in school? I said, no, I didn't. He said, that used to be the place where the last stop for the Underground Railroad. I'm like, what? So, of course, I'm like, I couldn't believe it. Now, leave that aside. So I thought that was great and everything. I never thought of it really again until a company came to me and asked me to write a story about the history of around that church.
So you were asked to actually do
to actually write it. And the thing is that I used to hate history in school, I'll just be very honest. Maybe because it seemed really boring to me. And even if I see historical plays, they were so boring. I mean, I'm not knocking anything about historical plays because I think they're great. For me personally, I need music.
Yep.
So I used to think that. So when I was asked to write it, of course I was enthused about it because it was a new venture, a new avenue. But I also was nervous because it's about, you have to touch on slavery, those sensitive topics. So I took it on and I said, you know what? I said, Alinka, you can write anything. And I said, let me see how I can make it beautiful. And so that's when and then we were tampering with the title, trying to think of what I could do. And then I thought of it. I said, yeah, there's a lot of lost heroes here that nobody really knows about, And eventually I think I'd like to expand on it. Even the story when you hear it, when you go and watch it, I won't tell about it because I want people to come and see it. But there's so much more that I heard that I could even get. I can interview some people as well that hear from their ancestors, and I can take those stories and create even a continuation, which would be lovely too.
Yeah, that's something I was going to ask you too, is a little bit about, because there is still a lot of people in this area that have ancestry that relates back to that area.
Yeah.
Did you have a lot of research or interviewing and?
Yeah. So what I did a lot of I did a lot of research on the internet.
Okay.
And I did hear from I just read about stories online kind of thing, and also when I heard about Richard Pierpoint. I don't know if you know Richard Pierpoint. He's also a Canadian hero as well.
Okay, yeah.
And I heard, when I was reading, I saw that he did set up camp in the Georgian Bay, and his militiamen that he created, they helped to build that church.
Oh, wow.
So then, of course, that drew me in as well. And I'd seen a lot of ads on TV, I think, about Richard Pierpoint as well.
Okay.
So I went and read about that even more so, and that's how I started to connect the two. And yeah. And so that's what I did. I did a lot of that. It was a lot of internet research as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I said next time I think I'd want to even hear directly from some of the people who've been, like actually speak with them.
Yeah.
But as you know, I'm like really bad with
Yeah.
interviews. I wouldn't know what to say.
Well, I was going to say our friendly cameraman here, Mr. Steve McEwen, did a show years ago on this is called Raise the Spirit, and it was on his In Focus Spirit. And if any of you get a chance to watch it, please do. It's very informative, and it'll also give you a really good insight as to the lost heroes of Oro as well.
Yeah,
definitely good insight.
It was
to
very
that.
good insight, actually.
Yeah.
I watched that.
How did you manage to pull all this together? So you got the idea of the show. Now, you obviously have the access to the directing and everything else, but still, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes.
Oh, does it ever?
We talked about there, there's hair, there's makeup, there's stage hands, there's lighting, sound, all that stuff. How did you already have a bit of a team together to
No,
put this
not
together?
really.
No, okay.
I know a lot of people know this about me. I know I tend to take on a lot. Sometimes I'm afraid that maybe, like, if I have to show someone how to do something, then I might as well do it. But I know I'm trying to scale back, so I know it's a lot. I am doing a lot of the lighting and, like the lighting myself, the lighting design. I'll work with the team at the Georgian College. I do have an assistant. She's more of an admin.
Okay.
I do have a backstage manager with some backstage hands from my IPAS students, whatever, sorry, whatever. So my backstage hand students.
Yep.
I do have, and I have a cast, and I do have a choreographer, but for the majority of it, I do a lot of the work myself.
Okay.
Like, I know I do take on a lot. Sometimes it's hard to find people to like volunteer or take a lesser amount. So that's the only complications I have. Like, that's the only setback I'd have sometimes, is finding people who are interested in wanting to do this and work with me. A lot of people right now as well, locally, are working on other shows, so that's another thing as well.
Yeah.
But
everyone's busy.
Yeah, everyone is busy.
Yeah. The cast, how did you go about doing your casting call for this upcoming show? Because obviously it's like I said before, it's a sensitive issue to some degree, and you really obviously have probably picked the creme de la creme that you could have got to fit those roles. Could you tell us a little bit more about how you did the casting? And then maybe we can discuss a little bit about some of the major roles and some of those people, and maybe characterize them a little bit and give our viewers some insight as to into the cast as well.
Right. Well, so sometimes when I do casting as well, especially because it's such it's a quick show, it's a pop-up show. I call it a pop-up show. Told everyone, let's just study it really well, because it is. We're going to put it up real quick. But I did refer to people that I knew before. One of the characters was in this before, the main character, and he's Richard Brown, and he's going to be. So I called him as well to be a part of the cast. I have people that I get referrals from as well.
Okay.
And I was gonna put out like an open call audition, but before I did that, I just wanted to see who I had as well, that I also enjoy working with and that I trust and that I know that would love to be a part of it. So I even have my vocal coach that teaches here at IPAS. She's also in it, and she had referrals. So I went through that first, and then that's how I got my casting.
Okay.
And they did kind of audition, because they had to send me in their material, to make sure that they were able to do this, and Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the musical side of this, because this is basically, it's a big part of the show, is the musical side of it. So you wrote the musical side of it, it's all original music.
All original,
That's a huge undertaking.
I know.
Congratulations for doing that. But can you tell us a little bit more how you incorporated the story, the script that you wrote with the music?
Yeah, okay, and so some of the music, for example, even like the first song, I try to, of course, as usual, like in a musical, you try to tell the story through music as well, because that's what moves people. I believe music does. And I did take even some of the words that were said, like, for example, in the beginning, I wanted to start way back, so from Africa, and then all the way the journey from Africa to the States to Canada. And so, for example, I will go and I'll research about Africa, and I'll see what beautiful things do I know about Africa, about the scenery, about the place, and I'll put that in the song. What kind of language did they speak? I'll try to put that in the song, you know, the little pieces like that. What are some of the things that some of the people said, even for, how do I explain it? Some of the things that were said to the slaves or about that will be in a song as well. So if we were to take out the music, then we'd lose like a lot of the meat to the story. So the music is important because a lot of the information is in it as well.
The neat thing about that too is that from songwriter's point of view is that, you know, songs are written from ideas or thoughts or everything else, but not so much in depth as to what you went through, like you said, taking thoughts and different language, whatever the case may be. You really did a lot of research and detail on this, which is amazing.
I did. I even learned so much stuff too. Because I don't like to look, like I told you, so especially the dark history, it's hard. But when I looked at it, I was like, oh my gosh, there's so many things that I didn't know. And when you come and see the show, you'll see what I'm talking about. Because a lot of even the actors that have played in it have told me, Alinka, this is really well written. Because it makes you understand things too. And of course, music, when you have music, it keeps your attention. So when you keep your attention, then they'll listen to the words. Right?
Good point. Good point. Yeah. I imagine too that with the actors, you know, we talked about emotional and getting involved. I could see how a play like this, where people would really get into their role and really understand a little bit more. Did you find that through practices that people were really diving into this and taking their role seriously? Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Like even me, even watching it, it affects me. And even while they're doing, some people will even cry right in rehearsal, right? It is that powerful.
Did you find that in the script as well? Was without blowing it away and giving away any stories? So, is there certain points where you found even writing the script that you thought, this is really going to make a huge impact?
Yes. There's some parts that I wrote on purpose just to give that impact and to get that, you know what I mean? I purposely made it intense in that moment. And it actually worked, because even during the read of the script, even our backstage manager, she was like, at this part of Alinka, my heart, and I'm like, yes. And that's just from reading it. So imagine just putting it on stage. Yeah, I try to find a way how to get the audience completely enthralled. You know what I mean? I have, even when I had students even see this, younger kids. I didn't think it would really affect them. Even my daughter, just to test them, and my daughter tells the truth. So just to test them, and then they're so they can't believe it. They're so involved, and it's really nice, because I wish I had that in school too. You know what I mean? Something that was historical, that didn't seem boring, but insightful and entertaining and educational at the same time.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, from someone who doesn't really know the history as to what's going on, and may not be the person who likes to deal with schools and everything else, this story has a great and an amazing historical lesson to be learned from it. So there's so many things that can be taken away from it that I think it'll have many uses in teaching.
Yes,
definitely. Did you think about that when you were writing it? Yeah.
Yes, because there was so much information. You'll see, when they're talking, there's so much information, but I wanted to think of a way, how do I make it, even when they're talking, how do I put it in a scenario where it's not boring, where actually they want to hear what you're saying? And it actually works, because when I did it, people were telling me, oh, I didn't know this and I didn't know that. And I'm like, you got that from it? So it was really nice. Yeah. So,
What's been the biggest challenge so far, do you think, in putting all this production together? Well,
the biggest challenge, let's see. Actually, a big challenge was finding I guess black male and females that can do this, that are local. Yeah. It's really hard. I mean, I know they're there, it's just finding them. I went through a lot of different referrals. So because I could have put an ad on. I could have put an ad, but usually I found, even in the past when I put ads, I don't get any black females or males.
Yeah.
So this time I went through the referrals that I knew as well. So that's one challenge, and another challenge, of course, is like every theater will probably say, the finances, right?
Yeah.
This is completely out of my pocket. So, I mean, I didn't do it through funding. It's through me and through faith. I'm just believing in it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Because so many
Yeah.
groups do get, they have government assistance, there's grants, there's all kinds of things. But being self-funded really, and I'm sure it gives you even more drive because it
does.
Everything's at stake, right? Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I
Well, I'm
know.
sure that this next one coming up is Lost Heroes is going to be great for you, I'm sure. Let's talk about, because you do have other stuff on the go as well.
I do have other stuff.
Let's talk a little bit about that as well. You've got another show that's coming up that you've done before, but it's airing again in Toronto after this one is done.
Yes.
Yes.
So I did Mute the Musical. Now, I've been running Mute the Musical since 2010, every single year. The only year that we did not do it was 2020, which was the year of the pandemic. Right? So we've been running that, and it's a show about anti-bullying. So we always put it out to the schools because it has a lot of good messages in there. We did it in November, and when we did it up here in Barrie, it was a huge success. I mean, we didn't have as many people as we had hoped each day. We had like one full day, but even though it was still a success because of what the kids got from it and what the teachers got from it and all the reviews I got from the teachers. So what happened is that on the public show, a Toronto teacher came up and they saw it and they were just over the moon. She was just over. She's like, we have to take this to Toronto. So now we're bringing the show to Toronto in March for a whole week.
Sweet.
Barrie,
Yes.
all residents. All the kids from Barrie, we're all local, we're all
awesome.
going down to Toronto, so it's great. We're going down there.
That's awesome. Yeah. And you
Yeah.
did that too with Lost Heroes as well. You were doing a little bit of the music side of it down in city and then bringing some of it back up here again too, I understand. Yeah.
So some of the cast members, they are from Toronto as well, so we brought them back up here. My brother used to live in Toronto, that's where I created the music over there, with him.
Yeah. So tickets for the upcoming show, Lost Heroes. Where can we get tickets? If you want to give us all the details of when, where, and everything else. Okay,
Yeah, you can go to ticketpro.ca because
Okay.
it's through the Georgian College Theatre because that's where the show's going to be. Yeah, and you can, if you go on ticketpro.ca and you just click on Ontario and you search Lost Heroes of Oro, I can actually give you the actual direct link as well. If you click on Lost Heroes of Oro, it will take you right to the ticket.
Okay, and it's a Georgian College in Barrie,
Georgian
which is
College
a
Theatre.
beautiful
Yes, a
theater
beautiful
as well.
space. I'm really excited.
Good size and a huge stage as well, and very, very professional.
Because the first time we did it was in the 5 Points, so this time it's going to be nice. We're going to do it at the Georgian, which is going to be a different experience.
Yeah.
It'll be nice. Yeah.
5 Points is great too. It's a little
Yes,
more,
it is.
a little bit more
It
of an
is.
intimate, but for what you're doing, you obviously need the stage space with the choir
Yes.
and everything else.
I know.
So, that's
Yeah.
awesome. So thank you very much once again. It was a
Thank you.
sheer pleasure. I'm glad we were able to sit down and do this. And once again, if anyone's looking to get involved with it, they can reach out to you as well.
Of course,
with any, any-
Even if they have any children that are interested in performing on stage and
Yes.
being in shows, you can go to Infinity Performing Arts Studio. That's where we have our program,
All right, perfect. Great. Well, thanks again. Really
Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much, Ian.
You're very welcome.